YouTube, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the show. You are in for a treat this episode. You're being warned right now. Something massive is coming with Ripple. That's right. And if you missed this, you're going to look back in a few weeks and you're going to wish that you were paying attention. We're not talking about speculation or hopium here. We don't do that. We're talking about real moves happening inside global banking, the EU's new crypto framework, and a $1 billion partnership forming behind the scenes. Yes, a $1 billion partnership. And the crazy part, almost nobody is connecting the dots. But once you see what I'm about to show you, you'll understand exactly why everyone from BlackRock to European regulators is quietly lining up behind the same thing. And that's Ripple infrastructure. And yes, XRP. This isn't a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. This right here, this is the financial system rebooting in real time. So you better buckle up, because what's coming next, it could redefine the global flow of money as we know it. And we start right here. We are going back to Ripple's latest commercial, advertisement, whatever you want to call it, because the entire financial landscape is evolving. This is going to set up the rest of the video. Well, most people out there are focused on headlines and charts and a word about rate cuts and ETF filings. A technological revolution, it's happening underneath. Let's watch this real quick.
It's happening right now. It's happening to banking, and it's happening with Ripple, blockchain, crypto. Customers and suppliers are paying with it and making real-time settlements around the world. So it's happening to bonds, currency, markets, almost anything. Because if change is happening in finance, then it's happening everywhere, and it's happening with Ripple.
If change is happening in finance, then it's happening everywhere, and it's happening in Ripple. Look, blockchain isn't just about coins anymore. It is becoming the engine behind how money moves, how assets are held, and how markets function. Ripple, they are quietly building that engine. From payments to custody to stablecoins, they are creating the rails the next financial system is going to run on. And what's wild about all this is that this isn't someday. This is all happening right now. The new global infrastructure, it's forming. And Europe, they just took the first big step, because we got breaking news coming in with MiCA officially rolled out across the EU. Nations like Luxembourg, well, they suddenly have a once in a generation opportunity. And that opportunity is to become the Silicon Valley of global finance. Ripple's top brass, they just met with Luxembourg's finance minister, Gilles Roth. And you want to know the tone of that meeting? Extremely bullish. Ripple's legal chief officer, Stuart Alderati, and team, they came all way from this meeting saying Luxembourg fully understands the opportunity ahead, and Ripple, they're ready to help them seize it. Folks, this is massive. You see them on the screen right there, looking good if you ask me. This is massive because Luxembourg, it's not just another country. It's one of the financial hearts of Europe. And if Luxembourg goes pro Ripple, other EU nations, guess what? They are going to follow. Now, before we get into the next segment of this video, folks, the one-on-one calls, they are limited and time is running out, because this bull market's going to hit like you've never been hit before. And when it does, well, Rip got to lock the hatches down and he needs to concentrate. Now's the time to lock in that call. We'll talk anything that you want to talk about. This call is me and you. It is about you in this call. We hop on, we'll talk tax strategies. We'll talk about setups, DCA in and out. What are we looking at for 2030? When is the cycle going to come to an end? Everything that I'm doing, you get the inside playbook. Link is down in the description. And now back to the program, because shortly after Stuart Alderati put that tweet out, we have the Minister Roth himself confirming everything that went down. He stated in here that they are working closely with Ripple as it moves to securing a full license to operate in Luxembourg. This is massive, everyone. This is absolutely massive. This is not just compliance. This is positioning. Ripple is embedding itself into the EU's regulatory framework right as MiCA takes effect. The timing? Well, if you ask me, it couldn't be more perfect than this. Everything's starting to line up. The dots are all starting to get connected. Are you seeing it? Luxembourg, they want to lead in digital innovation. Ripple, well, they provide the infrastructure to do it. That's how an entire continent could end up running on Ripple's rails. And XRP, you know what it becomes, right? It becomes the bridge asset that is powering all of it. But you know what? While Europe is moving forward in the US, go figure. It's absolute chaos. It's mayhem. A leaked DeFi regulation proposal from the Senate Democrats. It just blew up the bipartisan stalling progress once again. Go figure, right? The internal tug and war is keeping America on pause. America's going to fall behind. President Donald Trump said himself that the US is going to lead, not fall behind the rest of the world. So when the rest of the world is out there and they build the future, the US is just sitting on their hands, just tug of war, back and forth, folks. Here's the irony though. The same banks and funds that operate in the US, they're already testing Ripple's tech overseas. That's huge because they're going to test it overseas. And once the US is done playing their little games, they're going to instantly go live. They're not waiting. Almost the same playbook from Ripple, right? As Ripple was busy getting tied up in the US during the whole Ripple versus SEC saga that went underway, where the SEC tried to say XRP was a security. Well, what did Ripple do? They kept building and expanding and signing partners overseas. So while we got the politicians arguing, Ripple is executing quietly, globally, and strategically. And then Chris Larson, this is an oldie but goodie here because he sums up everything perfectly. He states that banks are cautious, but once you start connecting them, the network effect takes hold. And that is exactly what is happening right now. European banks are partnering with Ripple. Some are already using XRP as part of their payment infrastructure. Now you want to add in the single European payment area, SEPA, and suddenly the same payment system connecting 36 countries could soon be powered by Ripple's rails. Let's listen to Chris here.
Yeah, we just announced that we signed up a CBW out of Kansas and Cross River Bank out of New Jersey. And obviously with banks, banks are rightly careful about any new technology for regulatory purposes and for stability purposes. So, these conversations do take a while, 6 months to a year, we think, to really sort of introduce the concept and then how can it be applied and then starting to talk about pilots. But we're really pleased. These are the first US banks now on the Ripple protocol. So we think we are starting to get our message out there that these new technologies, distributed ledgers, really can be seen as alternatives, really viable alternatives to correspondent banking. And that's very powerful for particularly smaller banks that otherwise have to rely on correspondent banks.
Okay. So am I right in thinking the strategy is then to get kind of a nationwide deployment of Ripple? And if so, how is that going to work? What's the strategy?
Yeah, so the strategy really is now first try to get a bank in each of the key regions of the world. Because if you can connect one bank on ACH in the US to one bank on SEPA in Europe, you have effectively connected all of the banks on those two networks. So you really get a multiplier effect. Now we have this.
Let's talk about that. You get the multiplier effect. Folks, this is how you get exponential growth. One bank connects, then 10, then 50, until the network runs itself. But it gets even bigger because we got Larry Fink out here, the CEO of BlackRock. He just said, and I quote, tokenized assets, well, they enable instant transactions and open markets. Let that sink in for a second. Think about what that really means. The most powerful asset manager on the planet is now validating exactly what Ripple has been building for years. And according to the Boston Consulting Group and Ripple's own projections, the tokenization market, it's expected to explode from 600 billion to 19 trillion by 2033. That is 8 short years away. Almost the same amount of time I've been in crypto at this point. And this isn't crypto hype. That is institutional validity right here from Larry Fink himself. Every major player, from banks to funds, they're all moving towards tokenized assets. And guess who's already built the infrastructure for that? Well, if you guessed Ripple, you guessed right. And then we come and we see this. Because let's talk about scale, because you get one bank, then 10 banks, then 50 banks, you are scaling, right? Global cross-border payments move over 150 trillion a year. If we go back to the video that we started this episode with, and we see what Ripple is doing with bonds, derivatives, and the whole banking system, and we add all that in. So add in derivatives, add in bonds, add in tokenized assets, and you are looking at a market that is worth over $1 quadrillion. Now, where have we heard $1 quadrillion before? Perhaps the DTCC. And at the center of that, you know what sits? XRP. Fast, liquid, borderless, purpose-built for this exact use case. This isn't just a bull narrative here, everyone. This is the blueprint for the next monetary system. And you know what? That system is being built out right in front of your very eyes. You see the paperwork right there on the screen from the IMF talking about $1 quadrillion. We go back to the early article, the early ad from Ripple talking about banking, bonds, and currency. Are you starting to see how all of this ties together? So here's where we stand. Europe is moving first. Ripple is embedded deep into that system. The US is still arguing with global banks that connect through XRP. And institutions like BlackRock are validating tokenization, the very foundation that Ripple's been perfecting for a decade. When these forces collide, regulation, infrastructure, and institutional capital, guess what? There's no going back. This isn't about price predictions. This is about the transformation of money itself. And when that switch flips, it's gonna happen freaking fast. So stay sharp, stay early, and remember, you've been warned. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.